We always conclude our honors convocation to give a moment to a class speaker, a member of the class of 2019, to leave a few remarks about his time here at Epiphany. Voted on by his peers, the 2019 class speaker is Mr. Caleb Myers.
My name is Caleb Myers, and I have the privilege of speaking to you all today on behalf of the class of 2019. We've had quite the journey. Most of us began here at Epiphany in the fifth grade. I remember sweating it out in the Gaga pit, dreading Miss Stewart's book reports, and dissecting pickles in Mr. Critchmar's class. Because the majority of us have been together for almost 8 years, we've grown up together not as friends, but as one big dysfunctional family. Just like any family, we fight, we argue, we sometimes disagree, but at the end of the day, we always have each other's back. Just like every family, we've had our good and bad days. Whether stealing turtles on Community Day from Camp Seafair, misnaming Wi-Fi hotspots, or dancing without leaving room for Jesus at prom. We've made our fair share of mistakes over the years. We learned life lessons together too. In Gentleman's 101, Mr. Seeger taught us young men the proper way to hug, which if you're wondering, that's from the side, always. And all of us have at some point caught his camp spirit through retreat campfires or emergency yak haircuts. Some lessons come in the form of quotes. What would Miss Childs do is a phrase that many of us still live by. Through our mistakes, we've learned lessons, and a family-like bond was formed between all of us. With this bond, we sometimes fight and argue like every family does on occasion. The presidential election of 2016 was a prime example of division in our class. Brandon Scarberry had an obsession with Bernie Sanders, while, let's just say, I stayed a bit more on the conservative side of things. We had many heated arguments in Miss Child's Election Day Lounge, but the discussions we had there served to also unite us through a common passion for exercising our rights as Americans and developing our own political beliefs and values. As recently as last week, a good portion of our class experienced additional family drama. After 3 days spent cramped in small rooms with no air conditioning in Belize, it wasn't long before personalities clashed, jokes were taken personally, and as Senor Lopez would say, some of us crossed the line. For lack of a better term, we had a come to Jesus meeting with the group on the third night of the trip. Just like when any family hits a bump in the road, a good discussion will always work things out. People apologized for their words, friends forgave friends, and the trip ended up being one of my favorite experiences I've ever had at Epiphany. You've heard some examples of times we were divided, but there are countless experiences when we come together. As pioneers for the freshman trip to Costa Rica, our trip was much different from the current expedition. We were the first group to hike up Zopilote. Although current groups hike down the mountain on a paved path, we forged our own path down through the Costa Rican wilderness. Though it began as a peaceful walk to see the sunset over the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans, the sun eventually set and we were left in the dark, guided by the flashlights on our newly released iPhone 5Cs. The shortcut we took through the jungle that evening didn't end up being too short. Now affectionately known as the Death March, we ended the hike together, sharing Cliff Bars and helping each other down the steep mountainside. As citizens of Eastern North Carolina, we know how devastating hurricanes can be. When Hurricane Harvey hit the Gulf Coast of Texas in 2017, it was our own Caitlin Lowe that organized a group of volunteers from our class that aided Texans in the cleanup effort. After arriving in Houston, we spent the weekend spraying fungicide, gutting houses, and eating kolaches. And if you haven't had one, you definitely need to do that. It was on this trip that I saw the love and compassion that the class of 2019 has for those in need. With everyone in our class matriculating to a college next year, 4 students going off to college for free, and our total scholarships earned a whopping $3.8 million, in case y'all wonder, I know Mrs. Camp said it, but that's beating any class in Epiphany history, by the way. I'm incredibly proud to be a part of this big family. As a family, we've been through a lot. We've laughed together, we've cried together. We've celebrated our wins and mourned our losses. I will miss lunches spent gossiping in Rev K's office, hearing Sydney obsess over the latest episode of Game of Thrones, Ethan and Nathan's legendary speeches, and Brandon Danford's daily what the heck's in first period. When I think of the class of 2019, I think of Michael's Blueberry costume, Kim's almost inaudible roast, Davis and his goats, and Wesley, of course, for peanut allergies. I think of Tommy's affinity for tanks, Camden's mile-high flight behind a wake runner over the Trent, ended up on Barstool, chilling in Misty's room, and Jacob cheering almost too much at basketball games. I'm reminded of the fact that JC is the only reason we all passed calculus this year. That's true. To the future classes of Epiphany, know that you're not always going to get along, personalities are going to clash, and your journey will definitely have its low places. But you're going to leave this place as a family. Although we don't graduate until tomorrow, I'm already starting to miss my big family. As I wrote this speech, I had time to reflect on my years spent here at Epiphany. With Epiphany, I've traveled the world, immersing myself in other cultures, formed lasting and meaningful relationships, not only with my teachers, but with younger Falcons like my buddy Connor, who's over there somewhere, and have been thoroughly prepared for whatever the future may throw my way. Looking back, although the journey hasn't always been the easiest, I feel incredibly blessed to be able to call myself an Epiphany student. It is our shared experience that has blessed me, with 36 other brothers and sisters that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Thank you.
We'd like to close by offering sincere blessings to our graduates, but also to those amongst us who might be moving on to new schools, new cities, new journeys. We hope that you will carry on with you an appreciation for your time at Epiphany and an abiding commitment to living the great commandment wherever you will go.